the big attraction for me in Australia was it it was a simpler sort of society. It's not like it is today, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to be able to experience that. You know, first of all, the first thing I noticed about Australia is, is the best legs I ever saw on women in my life. It no longer exists to that degree now because it's changed. I think women used to walk around a lot. And and the toughness of the harsh country and things like that. It's something you get drawn to. It's really good. Um, for instance, I just give you a little for instance about this. When I knew that everything was going well for me, and later on when I got the Don Lane show, um, uh, they were doing all the entertainers, the club entertainers, decided that they wanted to do an awards night. Develop an award for the most popular comedian, the most popular, all the usual stuff, and they held it at a club called South Sydney. And they invited me over to be like a compere, an MC. And I said, yes, okay, I'd like to do that. When I got there, I saw a lot of stuff that just wasn't right. It wasn't through not trying, it was through people who were not really knowing how to produce something like this. So I put in a couple of things. I flew my writer up from Melbourne, and I asked them to change some things. The award was this little round wooden thing with some felt on the bottom, and a what do you call it? A coin, you could sort of spin if you wanted to. And I just looked at that and I thought, they deserve better than this, because at that time, to me, the second best entertainment circuit in the world was in Sydney. Every club had all kinds of shows going on all the time. And Jeepers, none of us were ever out of work. It was just fabulous. So when that season ended, I went in one time, and because, like, having to learn about Australian rules football, having to learn about rugby league, having to learn about colloquialisms that are used in Australia to a great rate, I said, I'm going to go shopping over in that place. I don't go over there, mate. They charge like the Light Brigade. It's like, I'm picking up all this stuff. And I thought, and, and so I decided that I should know a lot more about Australian show business if I'm going to be a part of it. And so I did a lot of work. I did a lot of research and work. And the one thing I found was that the most popular comic of the late 20s and 30s and 40s and into I think even a little part of the 50s maybe, was a guy named Roy Reen. And Roy Reen was an Australian comedian who everybody adored. He had a radio show called McKechnie's Mansions, and everybody knew how he talked, And he cut that, young Harry, he used to say. And he had this really funny words that he used to use like this, and struck me lucky, he'd say, and so because of all that, and I saw old films of him and stuff, and I thought, they're calling they called the awards night the Star Awards, which I thought was mundane, the Star Awards. I mean, it's fairly obvious. So I was in a book, I was looking and reading about Roy Reen, who everybody called him Mo, because of Mo McKechnie, the character he played, and everybody called him Mo. And in fact, when he died, the big headline in the newspaper was Mo dies, He was revered by everybody. And they used to be a bit blue, but basically he was, somebody who was on the tip of the tongue of everybody, and they worked the old Tivoli circuit and did all of that. And I found this photograph in a book about Australian history. And on one page was this full-length picture of Mo, and he used to wear this funny makeup on his face, you see, and had this long sort of coat, and he wasn't a very attractive man, but the way he handled himself, he was really funny. In fact, I stole something from him. I didn't even know him, meet him, but I stole something from him one time. He used to have a thing where he could stand behind the curtain and clear his throat, and everybody in the audience knew it was him. And he would do that. And he'd get them all worked up before he ever stepped on the stage, which I thought was fantastic. Anyway, so I saw this long, full-length picture of him. And I said, Jeepers, that's a statue. He said, look at that. That could be better than that little dinky thing they got flipping the coin around. I said, that's great. So I was on the committee for the for the Star Awards, and we were in our second year. And a very famous entertainer here, Johnny O'Keefe, was the chief, the chairman. And so I went into the meeting this one day. I used to have to fly up from Melbourne to go to the meeting. I went to the meeting, and I said, excuse me, fellas, it was a whole table full of people. There must have been about a dozen of them. I say, excuse me, I'd just like to make a little proposal and see what you think about this. And they were all looking at me, and I said, and I started, and I basically said, look, you guys have got to understand, you people have got to understand that show business did not begin from yesterday because you had a Star Awards. Show business has been going on for a long time in this country, and some really great people have been part of it. So I don't think that these awards should really be called the Star Awards or anything like that. I said a better award, a better name for me, which would be something catchy, like they've got the Oscars in Hollywood, you got a really good name for them. So I think something should happen. And what I propose is this. I think we should call them the Mo Awards. And I opened up the book and I said, and take a look at this. This is a full-length photo of Mo in all his regalia. And I said, that would make the best trophy of all to be able to present. And we would have a unique and different award for, and I went on for about another 2 or 3 minutes and just talked about it. And I said, well, that's my proposal. And I closed the book and I stood there. That silence that I just did is what I got. I stood there and they're all sitting there. Nobody's doing anything. And I thought, well, so much for a good idea. This really bombed, And the next thing you know, 3 of them started, and then the other 4 started, and the next thing you know, they're all clapping like crazy and yelling and saying, yeah, it's really great. The Mo Awards is fantastic. And I was just stunned, I thought it's just really great. And in fact, what's today's date? 26th of June? Yeah. Okay. On Monday night, I go to the 26th annual Mo Awards, and I'm presenting 2 awards in the thing, and I'll be there. But it's really something special, to be able to know that you could do that. But that's Australia, you see.